Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast. We appreciate you joining us. This podcast, as always, is brought to you by RoyalsReview.com, the one-stop shop for all things Kansas City Royals. Whether you need news, analysis, commentary, the latest prospect news, you can find it at RoyalsReview.com. I am Jacob Milham, joined, per usual, by the fluffy-headed one, Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, have a fluffy Wednesday, my friend.
Okay. I'm scared to ask what that means.
No, I don't mean nothing by it. I don't know. You know me. I try to find a new descriptive way to describe you every go around. I just
One
kind
of
of
these
stuck
times
that.
you're going to describe me and it's going to get us in trouble, but sure.
Call you a fuzzy-headed nerf herder, right? Is that the
Yeah.
All right, well, we might be coking and joking here, but the Kansas City Royals are not coking and joking. They're in the clubhouse. What, Jeremy? What, you don't like that phrase? You don't like that saying?
I've never heard that before.
So, here, I will admit this. That is a phrase I heard growing up, and I don't know the origins. So, folks, you've been quick to correct me when I'm in the wrong on stuff. Please drop a comment on Spotify or shoot me an email if that has a negative connotation.
I mean, my assumption is doing coke and telling jokes. I'm pretty sure it's not drinking a coke and telling jokes.
Well, I would hope so. But alas, here we are. Yes, just to clarify in case our lovely editor Max is listening. No, we are not doing coke on the podcast.
So far as anyone will ever know.
Done. Audio only, baby. Gotta love it. No, as we record right now, the Royals have yet to play their series finale against the New York Yankees. They are sitting at 8-10, 1-4 on the road trip, Jeremy, if I'm recalling correctly. And you know what? You would think that the Royals would be like 3-15 or something like that right now with how the fan base is reacting. It has been a lot of doom and gloom. There was some positive notes from Tuesday's loss in Yankee Stadium, but it's kind of hard to project positivity when the Royals cannot put runs up on the board. They've only scored 24 runs in their last 11 games. They've only scored more than 4 runs twice this season. And overall, they're the worst run-scoring team in the American League. Jeremy, this is a tough spot to be.
Yeah, it's like we try and find beacons of positivity where they're winning. I think they've won all but one game when they score 4 or more runs.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, the pitching's really good. I think I saw somebody else that they were top 3 in MLB in ERA. The pitching's good. So even if the hitting is bad, they can win. But the hitting has been worse than bad. And I know that, MJ Melendez, Hunter Renfroe have been taking their share of the flack. We're certainly part of that. I know I am. I wrote a whole article about how it's time to stop with MJ Melendez. Got 160 comments over on Royals Review on that sucker. This is a big deal to people right now. So, but it's everybody. Nobody's hitting outside Bobby Witt Jr., Mark Canha, who's on the injured list, and I think that's Maikel Garcia. That's it.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad right now. And, I had a radio spot earlier on with Carrington Harrison on 96.5 The Fan. And that was the point that I kind of came around to was this offseason, we fooled ourselves in a sense. Like, well, you know what? Did they really have to add to the lineup? They were a good run scoring team outside of Vinny's thumb injury. We kind of talked ourselves into that, but we ignored the fact that Vinny absolutely outperformed expectations. Salvador Perez turned back the clock. Jeremy, you say you give me that face, but I don't think anyone expected Vinny Pasquantino to have nearly 100 RBI.
I did. Sure. With Bobby in front of him. Why not?
Okay, I didn't have that expectation.
But maybe I also don't measure a guy's performance on his RBIs. I'm looking at, the OPS and the WRC plus. And by those numbers, he was at least, he might have underperformed.
Right. And I was honing in on RBI because from a run scoring perspective, the Royals were okay in 2024 over the entire season, Vinny Pasquantino in the lineup or not. And right now you have most of the same guys wearing a Royals uniform in the lineup every single night for manager Matt Quatrero, and the results are worse, like much, much worse. We have seen cold stretches from the Royals to start off the season. It seems like a normal thing, but I don't know. This just outside of the win loss and the rotation, there's not a whole lot going for the Royals right now. It's just a tough situation to be in.
So
And go ahead.
one of the reasons the offense was pretty good last year until Vinny got hurt was that Bobby, Vinny, and Salvi were remarkably consistent, and then everybody else would take turns going on hot streaks, and that worked. It worked well enough with the pitching that they had. Right now, everyone else is cold, and Vinny and Salvi are not where they need to be either. That's so it's the reason they were good was, well, somebody's got to be hot sometime. And so far this year, nobody's been hot.
Yeah, there you go. And, it doesn't help that you don't have your normal leadoff guy in there, Jonathan India, and he's been cold as well. So we got a new lineup today. Drew Waters is getting some more plate appearances. Tyler Tolbert's making his first MLB start at second base against the Yankees.
Jonathan India is back in there at third, so that gives me
Yep.
some hope that maybe that injury is rapidly in the rear view mirror.
Hopefully so. And also, don't forget Mark Canha. He looked good in his rehab start for Omaha yesterday. I think he went 2 for 4.
And they had said even when they put him on the IL that they were hoping it was a 10-day thing. So this is Drew Waters. He's got to get in there. He's got to get some hits because it's him or Melendez that goes down. And they've shown who they prefer. So if Waters wants to be on the roster, he's going to have to earn it real fast.
Yes, he is. So there are some reinforcements on the way, like some, I would say, realistic reinforcements. I'm sure
Jack
folks
Caglione.
listening. Yeah, I'm sure folks can hope for Jack Caglione or
get another home run after we recorded Sunday.
I know, right? He's doing us dirty on putting his best stuff when we're not talking about his best stuff. But it's a pretty anemic run scoring situation. And frankly, that just shines even more of a light on the other Royal shortcomings. You talked about the rotation and how good the rotation's been this year, but there's a few holes in the bullpen right now, especially with Hunter Harvey on the IL, and that popped up again on Tuesday, didn't it, Jeremy?
Yeah, it sure did. It's frustrating because I don't know what the answer is, Jacob. I don't know what the answer is. Obviously, they've got Lucas Urseg and they've got Carlos Estevez. And I think that they've been underutilizing Urseg, but maybe there's a little as I kind of tried to say on Sunday, like the manager knows more about the team's injuries and the team's health than anybody else.
Yeah.
And so what we found out after Sunday when we were complaining about him pulling Cole Reagans is that Cole Reagans did have a twinge in his hamstring. So, that was evidence right there of the manager knows more than we do. So maybe there's a reason Lucas Urseg isn't getting more opportunities to pitch more, but it's also frustrating. And the other thing is, okay, fine. Chris Stratton is only pitching when the game is pretty much already done. Sam Long went to the injured list, but you can't pitch your best guys when you only have 2 of them right now in the 6th inning every night.
Yeah.
And Angel Serpa last year was one of the best guys with runners on base. He stranded a lot of inherited runners. So I think it makes sense. And I saw someone was arguing that, Serpa walked Austin Wells with the bases loaded in the playoffs last year. So why do you put him in that exact same situation? Well, because he stranded most of the runners inherited last year. So that one situation shouldn't outweigh everything else. It's frustrating, but also, and that's not to say that there's not better options either, right? I would have liked to see Daniel Lynch. I think most people would have liked to see Daniel Lynch in that situation. Get his out. He can pitch the 7th, and then Urseg in the 8th, Estevez in the 9th, go home with a win. I do not understand why Matt Quatrero won't use Lynch more. in
I
higher
don't
leverage
either.
situations. It does not make sense to me. There has to be a reason, I assume, but it also doesn't make sense to me. So that's it's like there's a very tough balance right now between, is the manager awful or is he making the best, like, okay, Serpa is a defensible choice in some ways, but it's also not the ideal choice in other ways. So it's just there's a lot going on right now and it's very frustrating for sure. And
It is.
if the Royals were winning, if the Royals were 10-8 right now instead of 8-10, I don't think anyone would be complaining about his bullpen choices. And that's the other thing about bullpen choices. And this is something I was talking about with fellow Royals review writer Sterling Ice in a private chat the other day. Was that basically when the relievers do good, the manager looks real smart, and when the relievers do bad, the manager looks stupid, and the manager has very little control over that other than,
Yeah.
Chris Stratton is bad, so we're not going to pitch him in a high leverage situation. But Angel Serpa has been good. He's not been good to start the season, but you got to hope he's going to be good sometime. Otherwise, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's true. You bring up how Zerpa's performed to start off this year, and like that's I get it. We're in a small sample size for team based things, but we're even in an even smaller sample size for individual relievers. I think before last night, Zerpa had only been in like 5 games.
Yeah, and he
Like
had 3 straight scoreless appearances before last night too.
he did. He did. But he still, I went and looked at the season numbers. He has performed worse this year against left handed batters than he has against right handed batters. I don't know why that is, but that's just been the results that we've seen so far this year. And I get it. At some point, you do have to trust that the 2024 Nel Zerpa, this is still the same guy, still the same player. Nothing has changed. But I don't know, there are so few options right now. Like I made the case. Listen, I would have loved to see Lucas Ursay go out there for 4 outs, get a 4 out hold. But that's primarily in hindsight because, like you said, you don't
Well, and
want
then
one of
he
your two
pitches the
best.
6th and 7th. Who pitches the 8th for you?
Exactly. Then you have another spot where the Yankees could get runs up on the board because what you have Sisk come out and pitch the 8th. You have John Schreiber pitch the 8th. It's
And
it's just
maybe
not
it
a good
works and
spot.
maybe it doesn't, and no one has the answer.
Exactly. So here's another spot that Royals fans should be at because I feel like we're talking about Matt Quatrero's choices more this year than we
For
were
sure.
for much of 2024. In your opinion, are Royals fans in the right to be so critical of him or even calling for his job?
I think there's a balance here where I think it's reasonable to question a lot of the choices he's made. I think calling for him to be fired is a gross overreaction. But I also think that we need to temper even our questions with a little bit of, we are not even 20 games into the season. Maybe let's give it, like, if Angel Serpa doesn't give up a run for the rest of the year, well, of course you were using him in those situations. And what if Angel Serpa had given us 10 straight scoreless to start the year and then blew a couple games and then went back to being really good? We wouldn't, this is what the danger of the early season small sample sizes does to us. And again, I'm not saying that there's no call to be critical of Matt Quatrero. I am critical of Matt Quatrero's decisions right now, 100%. I just think that even while you're being critical, you have to ask yourself, is there any way that this makes sense? Is there any way that this leads to good results in the future? I also go back to manager Ned Yost, who in
Uh-huh.
the beginning of, I can't remember if it was 2013 or 2014, left Alcides Escobar in a late game situation where the game was on the line. And Alcides Escobar struck out, and everyone said, "Why aren't you pinch hitting for him? You know he can't hit." Well, Jacob, if you recall, who was the 2015 ALCS MVP?
I believe it was the Kansas City Royals starting shortstop Alcides Escobar.
Right. Now, does he do that if Ned Yost pinch hits for him on opening day 2014? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. You don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces here. There's a lot of things that the manager has to take into account besides just winning this specific game. Otherwise, you'd just send Lucas Erceg and Carlos Estevez out there every day and say, well, hope your arm doesn't fall off.
Yeah, it'd be 2 innings of Cole Reagans and then 2 innings of Seth Lugo and then 2 innings of Chris Bubich, and then you cobble something together for the final 3. That's what the pitching plan would be if we didn't care about the process or the entire season overall.
The other thing I have to bring up when we're talking about the manager and things are going so poorly for the Royals. The Royals are 8-10. They're 2 games behind the leader for the division, the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah.
The best team in baseball, the best team in the American League right now are the Texas Rangers at 10-7, 2.5 games ahead of the Royals. The Royals are 2.5 games away from being the best team in the American League. Now, the National League is a whole different thing, especially the National League West. So,
Yeah.
at the same time as we're being critical, I think that we do need to take a little bit of context here and say, boy, Royals are 2.5 games out of being the American League's best team, and they have played nothing but playoff contenders since they started the season. And some of these have been away games. They've played on the road in Cleveland, on the road in Milwaukee, on the road in New York. Those are not easy series. The Cleveland Guardians are 9-7, but again, 3 of those wins came against the White Sox. 5 of those wins came against the Royals. So that's 8 of their 9 wins came against the White Sox and against the Royals, who are struggling right now. But you have to think that the offense can't be this bad all year.
No, and I
criticized MJ Melendez because he's got a negative 14 WRC plus when I wrote that article. But even MJ Melendez shouldn't have a negative 14 WRC plus if you gave him a full season's worth of at-bats.
I would hope not. That is one of the beauties about baseball is, across such a lengthy season, things do balance out eventually. Like MJ Melendez was pretty bad for most of last year, but he had those hot stretches that kept him in the major leagues.
And kept the Royals winning when other people had cold stretches. The big problem, like I said right now, is that everyone's on a cold stretch. And that is an issue. And that is an issue that the Royals have experienced in the past, that they're experiencing again. And that is, I'm going to transition us a little bit. That is why we saw the article written yesterday, a very good article written on Royals Review. Let me figure out who wrote it again. I think I know who wrote it, but I want to be 100% sure.
I forgot who did write it.
I believe it was Brian Henry.
I think it was, yeah.
Royal treatment. Is it time for the Royals to get a new hitting coach? It was an excellently argued article, one of my favorites I've read on the site this year. His subhead, Alex Zumwalt, has been running the hitting show in Kansas City for a long time. The Royals' hitting results have not been very good. It is probably time to discuss a new voice. Now, and this is one of the weird things about coaching that we've talked about is how much impact do the coaches actually have on players? If they don't have the talent, the hitting coach can't give them talent. And if they won't listen to the hitting coach, then the hitting coach can't help them with anything else. But also the Royals' issues have been kind of consistent. And the scary part are guys like MJ Melendez and Vinny Pasquantino have come up to the big leagues after flashing big power in the minors and flashing a really good eye, and they're not hitting home runs and they're not taking walks anymore. And it's especially the not taking walks that concerns me. And so the question becomes, is it time for a new hitting coach?
So, short answer, no. It's not. And I will tell you where I stand right now.
All right.
You can both recognize the fact that the Royals hitters, for the most part, are not producing right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also agree that I think it is too early to be firing a coach in season. I do think that at that level, there does need to be the question asked, like, hey, the processes right now aren't working. The processes are not getting the positive results that we expected. So what part of the processes can we adjust? How can we flex? That is the question I would be asking. And, frankly, a coach's response to that question might tell you a lot about his future in the organization. If a coach goes like, nah, I'm not gonna change it, trust the process, and we've been having the same process since 2021, then like, well, we've been giving you a lot of trust and not getting a lot on our investment. It needs to change. I think that if you want to put it in a football sense, Alex Zumwalt should be on a warm seat. His seat should be warmer than Matt Quachero. I like Alex Zumwalt. I do. I like him as a person. And I think that he did bring a new age of thinking to the Royals when he came. But it's hard to ignore right now. The results aren't there. And they haven't been there for a good while. So I think it's fair that the question is asked, but that's my take on it. What about you, Jeremy?
I think that if they fired him, I would understand. If they don't fire him, I understand. All the things you said about not firing him, but also sometimes you just got to make a change to make a change. Just to like, maybe he's not got the wrong idea, but he doesn't communicate it in a way that this team can hear. And so that if the team decided that that was true and they did fire him, I would be like, well, I guess, we're trying it. We'll see what happens. But on the other hand, I do think to talk about like the Royals probably can't be this bad all year. One of the guys that I had a lot of questions about is Salvador Perez. We complain about MJ Melendez, we complain about Hunter Renfroe, but Salvador Perez doesn't ever get a day off, and he bats fourth every day. He's not been good. He's slashing, 206, 260, 338 for a 598 OPS. And I was like, he's 34 years old. He doesn't get a day off. Has age caught up to him? And so I was like, you know what? I'm scared to do it, but I'm going to go check the Baseball Savant page. I'm scared I'm going to see all blue everywhere. I don't. He's got a lot of red in here.
Okay.
His batting average is 206. His expected batting average, 296.
Wow.
His OPS is 598. His expected slugging percentage, only one factor in an OPS, is 573.
Wow.
He is barreling the ball at an 87th percentile. He's got a 389 xWOBA. His xWOBA con, which is expected weighted on base average on contact, is one of the best in all of baseball at 519 right now.
Wow.
He should be hitting better. He isn't. You would think this is the argument I feel like we have had every year since we started podcasting, since before we were podcasting, of, boy, it sure seems like these Royals hitters should be doing better than they are. Which is, on the one hand, it's like, okay, so maybe the process is there. Maybe the hitting coach is doing his job and the luck just isn't in their favor. But on the other hand, if we keep having this argument, this discussion, why are they underperforming so consistently? Why hasn't the hitting coach solved this over the course of several years?
Yeah, that is frustrating. I'm sure you can go into any Royals Review comment section or any social media avenue on Royals Review, and you will find something that can be traced back to that sort of statement, Jeremy. Good point. And thank you for looking up his Baseball Savant stuff, because I knew that his WOBA and xWOBA difference was, I think, like the third biggest in Major League Baseball. Like, a lot, we're still less than 20 games into the season for most of these teams. A lot of folks are really like vastly outperforming their expected metrics or vastly underperforming their expected metrics. That's to be expected right now, but the degree that Salvador Perez is doing it is notable. And that has to be frustrating for the captain. It really does. But that's why Quachero keeps putting him in the lineup, even though the slash line doesn't look good. Because these are things, unfortunately, that can either only be worked out behind the scenes or by just playing through it. And I think Salvador Perez is a guy who's going to want to play through it more than try to change things after he's been in the league for how many years now? Like, been in a while.
10.
Yeah, way more than 10.
He's got a 6-game on base streak. The only problem is that he's only been on base once. He had one game where he did have a hit and a walk. So,
Ooh.
But let me do a quick thing here and see what his WRC plus is over the last 6 games.
Okay,
99.
sounds good.
99. If he had a 99 WRC plus all season, I think we'd be okay with him. It's not where you want it to be. You want it to be higher, preferably. But if he had a 99 over the whole season instead of the 62 he has over the whole season right now, 69. Nice. He would be. Things would be so much better if he was a 30% better hitter.
Right.
The Royals probably would have won a couple more games. They've played so many close ones.
Yep. Exactly. So I think that's a good encapsulation of where Royals fans are right now. Is there anything else about the team right now that's standing out to you? Because there are some positives that I want to talk about. Like Evan Sisk, congrats on the MLB debut. Went great, in my opinion. 1 hit, 1 walk, but 3 strikeouts. And doing that on the road against a talented lineup like the New York Yankees shouldn't be ignored. So kudos to him. Steven Cruz had another good outing. I get it. He walked Aaron Judge, but frankly, if you have to walk a guy, that's the guy to walk. And just in retro, I think this is one of those trades where you can go back and this is just where you have to trust the process sometimes, because even though Royals fans didn't really like Michael A. Taylor, they were just like, we only got 2 pitchers for him, 2 relief pitchers for him, and now Michael A. Taylor's on his 3rd team in 3 seasons. And
my reaction was, you got 2 pitchers for Michael A. Taylor.
Well, listen, I mean, shoot, there's rarely been a good positive reaction to a Royals trade, I think, since I've been talking about the team.
Yeah, so I do think there's some bright spots there. Like you said, Steven Cruz and Evan Sisk are not perfect, but they've been serviceable so far. Whereas I think Sam Long, one of the guys that they've replaced, and Chris Stratton, who I think will be gone as soon as Hunter Harvey can come back, have not been. So if you replace completely unserviceable with serviceable, you've improved your bullpen already. And I think that there's a real chance that the offense can bounce back. Michael Massey has also been terrible to start the year.
Yeah.
He's had a couple big hits, but also a lot of not hitting and not walking. So it's been kind of an Adam Frazier situation for him a little bit. I hate to make that comparison, but a little bit of like, ooh, I remember a couple big things Adam Frazier did, but when you look at the overall numbers, oh boy, no thank you. So Michael Massey's been a little bit of that. But you wouldn't think he would actually be this bad. And I'm planning to go through and kind of look at the Fangraphs pages and look at the Baseball Savant pages for all Royals hitters and kind of do what I did with Salvi and go, okay, is there reason to think that they are going to get better? Or does it look like this is who they are? Or are they going to get worse? Or, that's hopefully going to be my article for next week.
Okay, I'd like that. For everyone listening out there, if you want to find that article or anything that Jeremy and I have written for Royals Review, you can find it at royalsreview.com, or you can go back on the social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, for Royals Review. So another positive that I think should be congratulated a little bit more, Northwest Arkansas Naturals. They combined last night for the 4th no-hitter in franchise history. Yeah. A lot of kind of unheralded pitchers too. Like it wasn't Ben Cooter not going out there. It was Ryan Ramsey, Chaz Martinez, Brandon Johnson, and I'm blanking on the 4th guy. I do apologize.
Never heard of.
But hey, the Naturals win 3-0. The lineup is still looking good there. That is still just a very talented lineup, I think. But another little sliver of positivity that I take from that no-hitter is the guy who was behind the plate for most of it was one of the Royals' top prospects in Carter Jensen. So we can't ignore a catcher's part in a no-hitter, because some of the framing, some of the calling, things like that should be commended. So congrats just to that whole team. It's really cool to make history like that. Is there anything else that I'm missing, Jeremy, with the Royals right now?
John Rave has a 145 WRC plus in Omaha right now.
Sorry, who?
John Rave. I feel like I was like, you're not serious, and then I looked at your expression. I'm like, he is serious. I'm sorry.
No,
lost. I don't know how to answer the question, Jacob.
I put my mindset into someone in the Royals front office.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's kind of where I sat at. Like who? John?
I just want to see the guy in the big leagues. He's probably gonna suck, but I want him to get a shot, Jacob.
And that was a point that someone else made on Royals Review is like, we get it. Most of the, like, if you, let's say you cycled through like 10 outfielders this year and 7 of them sucked, well, that means that you found 3 serviceable guys at least. And you know what? John Rave, he's a little bit of an older, he's not even really considered a prospect right now because of his age. And I think that he might just be a quad A guy. That might be all he is, but I don't know that for sure because we haven't seen him at the major league level. He hasn't gotten a chance to prove what he is or isn't at the major league level. And when you have outfielders like the Royals do that are woefully underperforming in many aspects of the game, then you should take shots on guys like John Ray. That's what I think, though. And frankly, I don't know who has the final say-so on decisions like that.
It's me.
It's you?
Okay. I've been double talking this whole time. I'm the one that won't promote John Ray. No, I'm kidding. Of course it's not me.
DFA Hunter Renfroe and call up John Ray. Add him to the 40-man roster. I think that's one of the simplest moves that Royals fans would celebrate right now in 2025.
Doesn't make it the right move, but it would be entertaining at least.
It would. That it would. Well, I say let's go ahead and get on with our reviews. I just want to see how Chris Bubich does against the Yankees tonight. I want to see if I really think he is, but we'll see.
A lot of lefties, and he's looked so good. He's looked like Chris Bubich light, but not that light. Like Cool Whip light, like Cool Whip is Cool Whip, and then Cool Whip light is like, that's still pretty close to Cool Whip.
Yeah, still kind of the same thing, but just not the same thing. Let's see, what do I want to, do you have a review? I'm blanking on my review.
I'll review the latest season of Dimension 20, Titan Takedown. They've got 4 pro wrestlers in there, and they're doing a Greek mythology crossover with wrestling ideas, Dungeons and Dragons campaign that they're running for 4 sessions. They've got 2 episodes out already, so they've got 2 more to go. The wrestlers have been charismatic and fun. I'm having a good time, and they just dropped their trailer for their next season of Dimension 20 today that starts in a couple of weeks here in May, or it might be June. I have to look again. And they're going to do steampunk with airships and stuff, and I'm very excited about that also.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. My review is going to be on a convenience store chain called Wawa. I'm sure that
I've heard of Wawa. I've never been there, but I've heard of it.
If y'all haven't heard of Wawa, it's based out of Pennsylvania, near where my wife grew up. So like she swears by Wawa. I would equate it to Casey's for our listeners. You know, Casey's is known for their pizza. Wawa is known for their hoagies and coffee. I reviewed them because I just had it today, and I tried out their new dill pickle ranch, which is actually delicious. It is one of the I really like it.
Those things.
It's not a combination for Jeremy. 2 wrongs don't make a right.
I do like dill pickles, but only on cheeseburgers.
Fair enough. But yeah, if you're driving around the country and you see a Wawa, they're starting to creep out from the East Coast into the Midwest. I would say stop by a Wawa, try it for yourself, and see what happens. Jeremy, unfortunately, I do have to get on out of here. So for all of our listeners out there who are still with us, our links for social media are down in the podcast description below. Please go support the team over at Royals Review. A lot of good people and a lot of good writers and just baseball fans in general over there. And you'll find them in the comment section too, I guess. You'll find those people like that.
We were once commenters, Jacob.
Yes, just like you and me. All right. So my name is Jacob Milham. There, Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, go Royals.